Welcome to Martin Monday's Intentional Intimacy, where love, life, and legacy meet in the moments that matter most. Every week, I will share sacred reflections of my 30-year marriage before Martin's passing, as well as our life now without him. May these reflections help us live with more weight, warmth, and wisdom. Martin was a letter carrier by profession, but a life carrier by purpose. So let's take a moment and let intentional intimacy speak. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to this edition of Martin Mondays. Today's edition is the final installment in what we've been doing as the Lewis Principle. And so our focus today is the S, which is stewardship. So I will teach the stewardship one or share about the stewardship one, and then just kind of summarize what we've been doing as a total as we close out the principle. So let me talk about stewardship. All right. So when we hear the word stewardship, a lot of times we think about money or possessions, oftentimes, or our responsibilities. But over the years with Martin, I've come to believe that one of the greatest things that can ever be entrusted to us is people. And I firmly believe that Martin understood that. Martin and his twin sister, they were the youngest of the 11 Hollis children, set of twins. And although they shared the same parents, all 11 children, Martin and his sister, they actually didn't grow up in the same home as their 9 older siblings. Martin and his sister were raised by their paternal grandparents. And so for many families, that kind of distance can become the start of disconnection. Life can get busy, people move, years pass by, and before long, everyone simply accepts that things aren't what they used to be. But Martin, he never accepted that. Martin believed that relationships were worth tending. And so he never allowed the proximity distance in their relationship and their upbringing to become an excuse for distance in their hearts. And so Martin was very intentional about staying connected with his brothers and his sisters, and family gatherings. They have never or were never obligations to him. They were opportunities. What if we reframed our family interactions as opportunities instead of obligations? It's not something that I have to do. It's something that I get to do. And I'm excited because it's an opportunity to build relationships, right? And so Martin, he truly understood that memories, they don't simply happen. Someone has to make them happen. And Martin, he was that someone. He made the phone calls, he showed up, he reached out, he made the time, and he truly believed that family was one of God's greatest gifts. And he treated those relationships as something very precious. And even as our own family grew, that same heart became part of our lives. Our boys, they didn't just hear stories about family, they experienced family. And even to this day, we continue to have very beautiful family gatherings. And so Martin, he really wanted our children to know where they came from, how loved they are, and that they belong to something that's even much bigger than themselves. And so when I look back now, I realize that Martin wasn't simply maintaining relationships, he was cultivating them like a steward. Just like a garden that doesn't flourish on its own, relationships, they don't remain strong by accident. Somebody has to be tending that relationship. Someone has to care enough to make the call, to care enough to plan the gathering, to care enough to remember the birthday, to care enough to create the memory. And Martin, he quietly carried that responsibility with great joy. I'll reflect some more on the other side. So let me reflect. Stewardship isn't about ownership because we're not an owner. Stewardship is about care. Stewardship is about recognizing that the people in our lives that are gifts that are entrusted to us for a season, and they're not guaranteed, and they sure enough aren't permanent, but they are precious. And Martin taught me that relationships rarely drift closer on their own because without intention, relationships can slowly drift apart. But with care, with consistency, with love, those relationships will grow deeper over time. And since Martin's passing, I have found myself thinking a lot about the moments that he often helped to create: the family dinners, the celebrations, the conversations, the laughter. And those memories, they didn't happen by chance. They happened because someone believed that relationships were worth cultivating. And that realization has really changed me. It reminds me not to wait for someone else to make the call. Paula, you make the call, girl. I don't even really like to talk on the telephone. I'm a texter to my heart. But no, I find myself now doing some things differently. Not to assume that there will always be another holiday or another birthday or another opportunity. I got to seize the moment for what it is. Because stewardship, it invites us to care for today, this moment, to nurture the relationships we've been given while we still have a chance. So this week, I want you to think of one relationship. Y'all know I like to pick one. Think of one relationship that matters to you and reach out. Call them. Not because there's a problem to solve, but simply because relationships grow when someone chooses to tend them. And so I appreciate you spending this Martin Mondays with me as we review the Lewis Principle, Louis. The L is legacy. You got to ask yourself, what will I leave? Because we don't choose whether we leave a legacy or not. We choose what that legacy is going to be. And we live it, and then we leave it. It's twofold. So legacy asks, what will I leave? What will I live? Ownership, is about responsibility. And so we ask ourselves, who am I becoming as an owner? What is mine to carry? What am I responsible for? And understanding is that people flourish when they feel seen. So with understanding, ask yourself, how do I love people? How am I expressing love to people? And with integrity, the I, that's where we build trust. And that's built when words and actions align. They're in agreement with one another. And so integrity asks, can I be trusted? Can I be relied upon? And lastly, as we talked about stewardship, love grows where relationships are faithfully tended. And so as a steward, we're asking ourselves, what have I been entrusted to care for? Not just possessions, but people. So again, thank you for spending these moments of Martin Mondays with me. Martin's life and even Uncle Lewis's life, they remind me that the greatest things that we are entrusted to care for are the people often that are standing right beside us. Eyes open, hearts open. And let us remember that legacy isn't measured by what we leave behind. It's revealed ultimately in the relationships that we faithfully cultivate while we are here. Catch you next time on Martin Mondays. Martin Mondays continues on Tuesday with the Tuesday Tea. check it out and join me and take a sip. You know, Martin used to say a lot of things. Some were funny, some were wise, but one thing he often said was, wow. Wow. Just those 3 letters. It spoke volumes. It meant a lot. When he didn't know what to say, wow. When he was excited about something, wow. When he was confused, perhaps, or even frustrated, he said, wow. And you know, he's still saying wow. Through his bracelet, he's still saying wow because he's still saying, may your whole life prove that God is good. And so in closing, that's my hope for you this week. May you have wow moments as you too are living out legacy. Live in the wow. Live in the reality of knowing that your whole life is good. Live in the heartbeat of Martin Mondays and intentional intimacy. May that anchor you in this week as you build legacy, one wow, one moment at a time. See you next week.